Standing up for social justice issues.
Collective consciousness.
Ooh, nice. Professional.
Quite framed.
Materialistic.
Definitely. Making impressions.
Achievement-based and not values-based.
It's a checklist.
Yeah. Political.
Hashtags. Donald Trump.
Chrissy Teigen.
It's a trend.
Nice. So I use Twitter mostly to read and comment about specific political issues that are happening around the world. Twitter's really about the short snippets of daily news for me, whereas LinkedIn is a lot more professional. I rarely post about political issues there. It's mostly to talk about my education, work, skills, things like that.
I hardly use Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you ask me why, I think it demands, one of the reasons is that it demands different identities from me, and which conflicts with the congruence and perceived notion of myself. So for me, Twitter is very opinion based, and LinkedIn encourages achievements and values. And values are a core of who I am and who I want to present myself on social media.
You know, it's interesting when you talked about demands of identity, because there are literally so many social media platforms, and I feel like they all demand time from us, and it's really, really hard to keep up with all of those platforms equally. Which is probably why I don't really use LinkedIn that much at all. For me, what demands a lot of my time is Instagram and Twitter, but rarely LinkedIn. For me, I feel like especially Twitter actually, is the space that more encourages and potentially even demands political opinions, especially with, I think I saw a lot of it with the recent Black Lives Matter movement. I saw a lot of tweets where people were saying the sentence of silence is violence, which is kind of saying that, if you're silent on these kind of social justice issues, it's perpetrating violence. And that statement alone can really demand you to kind of speak up and talk about all of these political opinions. And even on LinkedIn, I'm increasingly seeing a space for political opinions to be discussed within our specific professions as well, which is really interesting.
Adding to that, I think also when you talk about professional identity, there are certain obligations which come with it. So that could be one of the reasons why people are hesitant to post certain things on platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter, because that could affect their professional life, which would lead actually to them losing their jobs. So, and one thing that I also think about these platforms is that when these two are interconnected, your professional life and your personal life through a platform like LinkedIn or Twitter, the ways of you looking at a central problem could be limited. For example, from your professional angle, because of your profession, you will be required to look at a problem in a certain manner, and personally you might have a different opinion to that, but this is not the space to talk about it, and this space could overshadow what you personally believe in, because activism can be very personal as well. When it comes to defining how we give meaning to these social media platforms. For example, it's starkly different from the Google definition of what Twitter is or what LinkedIn is. How you perceive these social media platforms could be based on your cultural, social perceptions and viewpoints. Specifically, since my field of work is filmmaking and theatre, and your field of work is law, since you're a law student, The nature of our professions would also make us think of and perceive these social media platforms in different ways. Way each of us perceive and use it can be completely different based on who we are.